Hello everybody, this is my video of how to take care of a native tank consisting, not so large, of baby fish and minnows right here. This is technically a large baby of a species of large minnow, but I kind of count them as a baby fish because they grow into ginormous things, 1 foot long. I've seen people actually catch this type of fish online, so that's kind of cool. And then you got the log perch, those are baby fish, and then you got their average minnows over there. But I will be showing you what I feed them, take a tour of the tank, so you know how to start your own native tank, because I know plenty of people are always looking to do that. And, of course, I wish I had advice when I started my tank, because it took me a long while to get to this much fish. And they all coexist, and I'll tell you all about it and the research I've done on each fish. And let's hope these will be fun. And I'll also tell you which fish I think you really shouldn't have as pets that I made a mistake as, which I didn't, but I'll tell you why certain fish are good for certain reasons, and a few of the fish that you might want to watch out for. Okay, this is fish. This is how to take care of a small native tank full of minnows and baby fish. I hope you enjoy this. So, first off, let's preview what I feed them, because without food, the fish would sadly die. Not something we want. Now, this is the first thing I feed them. All fish love this. I used to have a baby crayfish in this tank who used to love this. Sadly, he passed. SIDS, I believe. But this is Tetra Mix plus tropical flakes. So just tropical flakes. You can get a good look at that. I really like this. This shrimp meal. That's what I use to feed them. Now, unfortunately, they just got fed, so I can't exactly show you what they like it, but I trust you they like it. And maybe in one of my other videos, you could even see them go crazy for it. Then there's this. There's the crab cuisine. Surprisingly, minnows and my little log perch right there, the large minnows that can stuff this in their mouths, love it. Yeah, they do love it. They love it. And it's just crab cuisine. It's nothing special, just these sinking sticks. You can also use betta feed if you don't have this. This is optional. You don't have to have this. I would really recommend this. This is optional. I mean, technically, you don't have to have it. Okay, the next thing, a real filter. These are great, especially with minnows that can sometimes release chemicals when they die. A real filter, not just a bubbler. Because the problem with bubblers is your water can get very dirty with them. These do put oxygen in the water too, so don't get worried about that. Whatever someone tells you, here's a personal advice from a real fish owner who's not trying to make any money or anything. Just go with a filter. Whoever says the bubblers get more oxygen, they don't. It's the same. If you can't afford a filter, it's okay to use a bubbler, but filters are so much better. It'll save you a lot of time and hassle, and the tank will be a lot easier to clean. And speaking of cleansing tanks, I recommend getting a lot of snails. Not as much snails as I have. I have over 100 snails in this tank. I think I do. I'm not 100% sure. I can't just count them. And another thing is, you got to be careful with snails because they will reproduce and you'll get babies. So don't exactly think that the amount of snails will just die off. No, you get more. I just had a few nests, and I think the nests that I used to see are gone, which means that I have now a bunch of baby snails. But the good thing about these snails is this tank is almost allergy-free when you have all these snails, which is great. Now, all these snails are wild caught, and there they are. They're not that complicated of animals. I wouldn't recommend just getting a tank of snails because they don't do much, but they are great. They give it a very natural feeling. The fish like to have snail companions, I believe. It makes them feel more comfortable because minnows naturally live with a lot of snails, so that really helps. Another thing that I recommend are clams, freshwater clams. These are really hard to find, so if you can't find them, it's okay. But the good thing about these these things is they filter the water. They are filter feeders, and they do not interrupt the tank at all, and they do not steal any attention. They're these little clams that normally burrow. There he is. I don't know if that one's dead or alive. I believe he's alive. You just dig a little bit in the sand, and you might find one. It's okay if you can't. I only have a few in my tank because they're really hard to get, and I only get wild animals. Now, I don't believe you can get them at a pet store, but you can check. I actually recommend getting wild fish because normally if you work for the fish to try to catch them, you'll want to take care of them more and enjoy them more than if you just went and paid $2 at the pet store. You can actually get minnows for 75 cents. Then there's the algae ball. These were kind of like the clams. They also provide great food source for snails and fish, I think, especially crayfish. If you are trying to start a crayfish tank or a tank with crayfish, I highly recommend these. Crayfish love them. In fact, my ball in my crayfish tank is completely ripped open because the crayfish love them so much. So yeah, but they don't go away. I've had this one for like 2 years now. All the other, I think this is from another round of fish a long time ago, and this guy still survived. So they don't really die because they just keep on rejuvenating. Another thing that I highly recommend are LED lights at the top of your tank. You can see them a little bit right there. These lights are great for lighting up your tank, and you turn them off at night so that your fish have a day and night routine, because as we all know, it's hard to really do in an artificial lit house, especially with the blinder down so my algae growth doesn't go up, which is another thing I recommend. If there's a window by your tank, make sure the blinds are down to get rid of the algae growth. Please do that if you want a healthy fish, because algae is not good. A little bit is okay to feed your snails, but when you get too much, it's not a healthy tank, especially if you're having a bubbler. Now, another thing I recommend is natural colored gravel. Now, I know everybody wants these colorful colors, but the fish don't like it. The fish would rather have just regular gravel that mimics what they would have. It really helps, in my opinion, so that's what I recommend. Also, another thing I recommend are large pebbles. The snails love to go on it. The fish love to rest on it. Large rocks or pebbles or sea glass, all fish love. I actually have a coral right there that I probably got on the beach. I'm not 100% sure. That's just been in the tank for a long time. As you can see, it's buried in the gravel by now. But yes, it really adds a natural taste to your tank. If you're trying to do a native tank that's really trying to look like what a natural habitat would look, I really recommend just plain colored gravel that looks like what you'd see in water. I really hope that if any of you guys are watching, you guys get this, because it gives the fish a very good feeling, especially if you're getting wild fish. So another thing, and now that's about covered it, other than the hiding places. Now, minnows don't especially need this, but they do kind of like this little divider, some sort of fish toy that can divide this so that they can have a smaller space if they need to just get away from the bigger crowd in a larger, more well-lit space. So that is something that I would recommend. Another thing, that if you're thinking about getting a pet log perch or crayfish, these log perches and crayfish love these hiding spots. See, there's him right there. This Chesapeake log perch, unfortunately, I don't think you'll be able to get, because I accidentally made a mistake and they're vulnerable. If you see a fish like this, please let it go. And if it's in the Potomac River, please report it to any river official you know, because these guys were thought to be extinct to the Potomac River until I rediscovered. So take a good look at that. Make sure that you get that in your head. Do not bring home and report if you see them in the Potomac River, because they were thought to be extinct to the Potomac River a long time ago. So the fact that they're still here is great. I found this guy in the back channel. I actually caught 3 of them, kept 2, 1 passed. Now we got that 1 baby, and I think he might be starting to mature. But he's not mature yet because he doesn't have that mature look to him. But yes, I highly recommend this. Now, here's something to watch out for that I know most people won't understand, and it's hard to tell if they're babies, but it would be smarter to here's something that could be good or could be bad, whichever way you look at it. There are these crippled minnows. They're funny looking. There's 2 of them. That guy has trouble things. And, I mean, in a way you could be saving them from predators. The only problem is they do kind of, if you're going for a very classic, nice-looking tank, I wouldn't recommend them because they do kind of, but for the most part, I think they're actually kind of funny looking. But just make sure that just make sure if you do have these to not have any big fish mixed with these, or these guys will go away quick. And trust me, once you have one, you become very attached to these little guys. They also look pretty strange, so some people can get very confused by them or scared by them, but don't be intimidated. Another thing to see is that minnows aren't little tiny things like people say. As you can see, minnows can get pretty big, about 2 inches. Most minnows grow about 2 inches, which you need a good sized tank for that. Also, minnows prefer it more if they have more than one fish with them, so that's another thing to look out for. Also, this little guy right here, he will grow up to be a 1 foot long minnow, is what I believe he is right now. A creek, what's it called again? A creek chub. He's a creek chub. Sorry, I just kind of lost that in my head. They are very aggressive fish, and once he grows up, which he is not even in 2 inches yet, he's much smaller than the rest of the fish. But as you can tell, he's going to be huge soon. I will be moving him to a larger tank, which I haven't even gotten yet because we just got him yesterday, and we didn't even realize what he was. I still thought he was a bass until literally a few hours ago when I looked it up. So, that's tips and tricks for your tank. I hope you really enjoyed this. Just one more tip before we go. This is optional. Dude, this is just something I say. Don't throw away your old snail shells from your snails that have passed as that one isn't even wild caught. That one's like ages old. That's before I started doing wild caught tanks. This is, I highly recommend because it creates home for snails. Snails and crayfish love to feed off of its calcium that it provides, and it kind of gives it like a cool abandoned look that I really like. And I also recommend not using too bright or flashy colors, but a few red rocks in there would give it a good look, and maybe a few quartz. Those really look nice. But other than that, I am signing off. Here's one more look at the fish. Here's a real backed up look. And there you go. Bye.